What you're seeing on the screen right now is the actual pattern chart that I created and update every single day to help me predict the outcomes of future games. By hand, I create these charts for every single team in the league and update them all the end of each day with the latest results. These charts help me to track the progress of every single team in the league, their past performance, road and home, how they've done against the spread, how they won on the money line or not, and the most likely logical direction where they'll head to next. As a master pattern recognizer, it's easy for me to glance at these charts and zero in on what will be the most likely future outcomes for each team. And each team is different. What's predicted for one team isn't necessarily going to automatically apply to another team. For example, the charts tell us that the Warriors bounce back well after a loss, where the Cavaliers right now remain stagnant. The old dead cat bounce. You have to treat each situation on a case-by-case basis because each team, the players and the coaches, have their own unique ways to reacting to situations. These charts help to paint a very helpful picture to let me determine how each team react. I'm constantly looking for possible forming patterns for all the teams in the league. What I'm looking for are flow patterns, bounce patterns, up channels, down channels, trending signals, separation of noises, the list goes on and on. I also keep track of what's going on when key players are in and out, and I'll put that on the charts as well. So let me give you an example of how I use one of these charts to help me predict the outcome of a future game. Okay, so you see here, this is an example of the Cleveland Cavaliers last year. You'll see a bunch of different colors and circles and all kinds of notations and all that. So what I'm following here is how Cleveland is bouncing up and down, or whether they're getting on any kind of a streak. I'm looking for M formations and W formations. If you look at the video, you'll see that there's some M's and some W's. W's mean it's likely to go up, and you'll see a very strong correlation between the W's and an up channel and also an M and a down channel. So what the orange on the screen is the totals. So this keeps track of how they're doing against the spread. When you look at the chart, you'll see the different blocks, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10, 15, 20. That's as far as how they're doing covering, either to the downside or to the upside. The dividing line means they tied. So you'll see examples of where they bounce down on the total, didn't cover, and then came right back up, and then right back down again, back up, back down. So that's an up and down, a bounce pattern for totals. The blue line is the actual how they're doing against the spread, and the black line is what actually happened. So I want to see what the actual scores were according to the charts and how they're doing with the spread. The circle ones, if they're circled on the team here, that means they're at home. If it's not circled, it means that they're on the road. If you see a double line together, that means it's a back-to-back game. You'll also notice some notes here early at this point in the chart. LeBron had an argument with the owner, so we wrote that down to see how that impacted. And you'll notice that after that, they went on a nice winning run for a while and actually were scoring more. Then you'll see when LeBron was out, how they did with no LeBron. Quite a few times here, so we keep track of that. If the team's tired with a brutal schedule, we make sure we make a note of that and see how they're responding in those situations as well. But since I'm a pattern recognition expert, I'm able to decipher all this information. I've been using this approach for a long time. It gives me a good indication of what's likely to happen next. Take Golden State this year, for example. This is a photo of the chart for the Golden State Warriors this year. Looking at the chart, we can see that every time they come off and under in the game, they tend to bounce back to go over very easily on the next game. This looks like a bounce pattern, especially when they're playing against other competitive teams. However, what's interesting is that when Golden State plays against poor teams, they tend to falter against the spread after coming off a victory. That's a very interesting pattern here, and one which I'm going to continue to monitor as we go forward. Not every team falls into the same pattern. The Cleveland Cavaliers, for example, are not a team that follow a bounce pattern. They get stuck in a down channel, like when you're seeing a stock tank and you short it. On the other hand, a team like the Clippers bounce heavily, where they're constantly following a pattern of bouncing back every time they come off a loss. I constantly look for patterns that are either flowing or bouncing and see what the next most likely outcome would be. Each team in the league is different. I try to look for ones that fall into the rule of three and see when they are almost likely to flow or break. Many teams, for example, rarely get stuck in one channel for longer than 3 games. Other teams perform very well immediately off a bounce. Then we have teams that tend to ride the channels for extended periods up or down. The work is rigorous because I'm not only monitoring what's going on for one team, but also their opponent. If 2 teams are playing against each other where the patterns conflict, then those patterns create a situation where I sit out. I'm constantly looking at patterns and forming them inside my head to help me predict what could possibly be the most likely outcomes in the upcoming games. And I just wanted to give you a peek under the hood here, behind the curtain, to give you an idea of all the work that goes on to come up with every daily selection. Certainly, tremendous amount of effort involved in analysis as well. Hope you've enjoyed taking a look at one of the charts that we use, and I'll be getting you more information as we go with these videos. So you can probably tell now just how much work is involved for me to handicap just one sport. Look at these games and give you the winners day in and day out. You may not realize that before because you've seen for yourself the end results, but the process I go through for giving you the winning picks and betting them for myself is quite painstaking. And this is only the beginning. I've only scratched the surface as to what I go through every single day to pick out the winners for you. There's much more to it, and one day I'll teach you more so you can use my same strategies to help yourself pick out winners in any sport. So why do I spend so much time doing this? That's because it's not just your money that's on the line, it's also mine. That's a big differentiating factor between me and other typical sports handicappers you'll see. I go out and bet up to millions of dollars each month on my own picks. Last month alone, I wagered a total of over $1 million on the same games I sent out to you. I hope you enjoy this inside look into how I use pattern recognition analysis to help predict the future outcomes of sporting events. And this is only scratching the top of the surface. It doesn't even come close to all the amount of research I actually do before giving the selections out to you every day.